propaganda coup. Russian dissident soldiers back from a raid inside Russia, parading a captured Russian vehicle for the world.
What do you hope will be the effect of this raid?
Effect of this raid was amazing. It was informational shell, information bomb, blowing about 2 days, whole internet blowing up, boiling.
These men are all Russian nationals and part of Ukraine's security forces, and they carry Ukrainian military IDs.
This incursion into Russian territory, which these guys say is ongoing, was as much a propaganda mission as it was a military mission. But they say it was also done independently of the Ukrainian military. That is a claim we have to take with a big pinch of salt.
They jointly raided Russian territory this week and flooded the internet with images of their work. Russia claims to have driven them out. Still, the raid has rattled Moscow.
Do you think this is part of the coming summer offensive, an attempt to keep the Russians off balance, keep them guessing?
I think it's kind of, yes, it's kind of it.
American-made vehicles appear to have been used in the cross-border operation in Belgorod province. It's unclear if they were US donations.
The vehicles that you took included some of the American MRAPs, is that right? That you were using?
We used Handy also, yeah. We buy them in international shops, war shops, yeah.
So you bought these vehicles on the open market?
Yeah, of course. Everyone who have some money can do it.
Ukraine's government, which has received US vehicles and lethal hardware, says that these men operated inside Russia privately. But a security source said here that Kiev had advanced knowledge of the raid, and Caesar admitted Ukraine helped out with supplies.
Small arms, artillery weapon, heavy vehicles, everything that we need.
So this was a raid that the government can deny, but still enjoy the results. Divisions in the ranks of their enemies. Mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin immediately reacting with fury.
Спокойно проникают в ДРГ и идут вообще безнаказанно, скидывая видео на танках, на БМП, на БТРах. Да где гарантия, что она в Москву завтра не приедет? А пока, насколько я понимаю, на жителей Белгородской области всем глубоко насрать.
And the far-right leader of the Russian volunteer, he even warned that Moscow could face a revolution.
The operation is ongoing. This is how I should put it, to be honest. It definitely has various phases. So phase one, we consider it a successful phase. It's over now, but the operation is ongoing. That's what I can say for now. Yeah, please.
It's fascinating. Sam Kiley joins us now. Sam, it's really fascinating to hear from them. I mean, they sound very confident. They also sound like, or at least they want people to believe, there will be more attacks from these kind of groups on Russian soil. How likely is that?
I think it's pretty likely, Anderson, in that they are relatively small in number, numbering in the hundreds rather than thousands, these Russian citizens, but they are also trying to hook up with partisan groups deeper into the country, try and inspire other people into acts of sabotage ultimately. And then at the same time, the Ukrainians are prosecuting these sorts of attacks behind the Russian lines here inside Ukrainian territory, either with special forces or now with the longer range weaponry that they've been getting, particularly from NATO partners, the United Kingdom recently supplying the Storm Shadow cruise missile that may have been behind a recent explosion in a Russian-occupied town more than 100 kilometers some 80 miles or so behind the front lines, Anderson.
Sam Kiley in Ukraine. Thanks for that report. Joining us now, CNN military analyst and retired Army Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. General Hertling, I mean, in terms of Ukraine's fight against Russia, are these cross-border raiders effective, either strategically or psychologically or in any way?
In all those ways, Anderson. Whenever you're conducting raids or feints or demonstrations, it causes the enemy to take a look at what they're doing, where they're defending. What you're talking about along the border between Ukraine and Russia on the eastern part of the country is close to probably 1,000 kilometers, 600, 700 miles. the Russians cannot defend across that entire length and breadth. So anytime you have a raid like this that gets in very quickly, causes a little bit of disruption and some chaos, and then moves out very quickly, you see the enemy reacting to that, just like the Russians did. The Russians claim they killed 70 of these raiders. It's just not true. You can tell by talking to that commander just now that he didn't lose a whole lot of people. In fact, he said he lost 1 soldier and 2 were wounded, but it caused a lot of disruption on the Russian side.
What do you make of where the war is right now for Ukraine?
I think Ukraine is continuing to conduct shaping operations, and these kinds of raids and demonstrations and feints are a part of that. You see continued strikes by the Ukraine against key elements of the Russian military. You see not only these raids that are taking place that they can basically say, hey, we don't know who did that, but we know it's helpful, all the way to the bombing or the destruction of artillery depots and ammo dumps in places like Berdyansk, which happened today. You see, like you showed earlier, the unmanned surface vessel going against a Russian ship. It's just a 1,000 knife cuts against Russia, and it's all part of shaping operations for the Ukrainians to determine where the weak spots are in the lines, where they can attack, and how the Russian forces are moving their elements around to address different threats coming from unexpected directions.
You said shaping operations, so it's sort of probes in a way?
It is probes, it's intelligence gathering, it's preparation of the battlefield by different attacks, using artillery to strike command posts, ammo dumps, railroad crossings, places that disrupt the enemy activity and cause the enemy commander to take a different approach, or to move forces, or to defend things that he didn't want to defend in the past, or continue to guess at where the Ukrainians might come next. And it takes active Russian forces away from the defensive lines that they've been building for the last 5 months and puts them in other places like border posts, so that the Ukrainians will see this movement and use that to their advantage to attack in places where the Russians ain't.
Just quickly, Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group, said that in an interview that 20,000 Wagner troops had died in the attempt to take over Bakhmut. Do you think that's an accurate number? And if so, what does that say about the fight?
Yeah, I believe that's a lowball number from all of the U.S. open source intelligence. That's significantly less than they lost there by count. But it's also Prigozhin continuing to insult the Minister of Defense Shoigu and the Chief General Gerasimov. So when they fail, if there's any failure, he can say, hey, see that? I was the guy that was attacking and having great success. You pulled me offline. You took away my Wagner group. And now you all have to suffer the consequences of failure. So he's insulting, and he's also prepping a future battlefield from a political standpoint to gain more power inside of the Kremlin.